My name is Cohane Hodayah Ben Levi Ben Yisrael of the Hebrew family of Guyana and the Levitical priesthood. The aim of these dissertations is to cause the house of Yisrael, who have been without knowledge of themselves for countless generations, and who are now being awakened by the God of the universe, to better serve our Creator, the only Savior. It is our hope that by reacquainting this awakening nation with their laws and former history, it will hasten our return to our true identity, thereby acknowledging our ancient fathers. This in turn will allow us to know our Father's God and prepare us to stand together to meet the terrible day of the Creator that He is readying for all mankind. May He cause our minds and our hearts to understand this as we, the Levitical priesthood, continue to provide a service to humanity. Hallelujah. First, acknowledging and giving glory to the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth, thanking Him for life, thanking Him for all His blessings, thanking Him for blessing us in this day and time with great teachers that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and allowing me to be part of the Levitical priesthood. May Yah bless all the teachers. May He remember to bless Kohen Mikael, and allow the spirit of his teaching, the spirit of all the great men and the teachers that they gave us to continue to work on this earth, that we can instill it in the minds and the hearts of the people of the earth. Shalom, shalom. My name is Cohane Hodayah Ben Levi Ben Yisrael of the Hebrew family of Guyana and the Levitical priesthood. I've been studying as a priest for over 20 years under my father, but he's been teaching us since we started learning about the Torah as children, from the Hebraic understanding, as well as getting in depth every week practicing the Torah, the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Creator. As a young man growing up in this way of life, we had challenges because I have many siblings, 9 sisters and 6 brothers. And as a young man, we had many challenges because we were some of the only practicing Israelites in the land of Guyana. I'm one of the men that grew up amongst many that are practicing Israelites in Guyana, in the United States, as well in the land of Israel. We grew up with the understanding that we had to be a light to our friends and to our peers to inspire them to understand that the Creator is a living power, and that we as His servants have to ensure that the laws are implemented in our everyday lives. So as a young man, we were taught to wear our fringes. We were taught to honor our father and our mother. We were taught to respect elders and to try our best to be a servant to humanity. Of those young men that grew up, a few of us decided to, through guidance from our parents, to continue to study so that we can be teachers to our peers and to the nation at large. I was one of those that was selected to become a priest, a servant to the people of the Creator, and a servant to the people of the earth. Growing up, we had many challenges practicing this culture. Going to school, if you could imagine going to school and many of your peers not understanding who you are, what you represent, why you're looking different. Yet still, we had to stay aligned with our purpose and continue to strive to ensure that the will of the Creator was done so that we can be a living example that the servants of the Creator are alive here on earth. I remember growing up as a child and because my father was one that ensured that all of his children wore culture, he tried to insist that all of his children had their hair braided because he felt that as a parent, we should have our hair braided because have long hair. I remember growing up, many of our peers would make a laugh off of me and my brothers, and they would say we were like girls initially because we had long hair. This was before Allen Iverson was wearing braids and everything. But as young men, we continued, my father and my mother continued to ensure that we wore our hair long. They braided our hair every day. And eventually, as they used to tell us, it's going to be something that everybody will be doing. And that I saw happen in my lifetime. As braiding hair became, men wearing and having long hair became popular, more people start identifying and seeing us in a different light. Some of the other challenges we would have faced as young men growing up, and I know I'm not alone here, because I know similar brothers and sisters in Israel, in Guyana, in the US, in Trinidad, in Barbados, that knew the Creator all their lives. They had similar challenges. Some of it was that when you worship and you decided to take the Sabbath day off or the Shabbat day off, or you couldn't go to sports or school parties Many times you were criticized, but you had to have faith and you had to stay firm and understand that you had this. It's a bigger picture to what you were experiencing. It's something that at the end you had to have faith that at the end the Creator is going to see you through and that you're going to pass through that stage of life and you're going to come out victorious. As I grew older, I realized and I know that the Creator was with me and He guided my life in the way that it should go, because I realized that I had a positive impact and I'm still having a positive impact on so many of my peers. I thank the Creator because He blessed my father to come in contact with a man called Cohane Hodayah Ben Yisrael. And many of his children, Cohane Levi's children, are still practicing this way of life as well. So growing up, even though we were away from our family because we grew up in Guyana and all of our cousins and so on was abroad, we understood that we were not alone, even though we felt alone in a different country. And then as communication became something that was more accessible, we started seeing videos and we started getting pictures. So we understood that we were part of a network of Israelites that is universal. I thank the Creator because growing up with my father and my mother, because my mother played a tremendous role in ensuring that we had the values of family and we had the values of and principles of Torah in our lives. I thank the Creator because those values and principles is what carry me and help me to make every decision that I make in my life today. I know in the Torah and the scriptures it says, in paraphrasing, it speaks about learning the Creator in your youth, and it would direct and it would guide your path. I was fortunate, many like me were fortunate to have learned about Yah and the Creator when we were young men and young women. And even though we were faced with challenges, we came out on the other side of the adversity we faced, successful and better human beings, and we use the Creator as our pivot to move us through those challenging times. But again, as I sit here, I reflect on my childhood and that of my siblings. The Creator had it that my father was doing his work. He traveled a lot, teaching Israelites about this way of life, teaching the earth, I would say, and people of the earth about this way of life. And you had to have a deep spiritual understanding and had to have the Creator in your life to go through that stage of life. I wouldn't get into all the details, but stories I remember is sometimes persons as young men, persons would have taken advantage of our family. And when I say take advantage, in Guyana it's a term that they use, that they say people would have conned us, or they would have took their eyes and passed us. And as young men and young women coming up, we didn't have a full understanding of the culture, the Guyanese culture that is. But yet still, the Creator guided us through. In school, I remember teachers trying to insist that we took vaccines. Sometimes peers trying to manipulate you and entice you to eat something that was not permissible according to Leviticus 11, the 11th chapter. Yet, the Creator allowed us to stay firm. Many of our teachers, we end up convincing and speaking to and inspiring them to seek God for themselves. My parents, God continued to bless them, all those role models that I had in my life and that we had in our lives. The Creator really, I pray, that the Creator would give them a special blessing. A special blessing. Because the saints of the Most High, we are alive. That next generation of Israelites that are dedicated and committed to this way of life, we still fighting, we're still striving to be better individuals, better servants, and pass this on to the next generation. The next generation that may face even greater challenges than we face. But a message I would like to tell them is that if you stay aligned with Yah, if you put Yahweh or the Creator as your shield and you trust in Him, He will see you through. He will ensure that you are victorious. There was a scripture that as I got older, I remember and I always say it in my mind. And it's one that says that if you trust in Yah and you make Yahweh your defense and your shield, no weapon that rises against thee shall prosper. And every tongue that speak against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh. And I understand that I have dedicated my life to being one of His servants. My prayer is that the Creator see me and see the small amount of good that I do and bless me and my loved ones accordingly. Getting back to growing up in this way of life, my parents, they learned from their parents about the value of education. They told us that education is the key to success, something that many people, many Israelites and many families teach to their children. But as they taught us that, they said education without the Creator is null and void. So as we learned the value of education according to the ways of the nations, and we went to the school system and they would say prayers and they would celebrate Christmas, and then you had the Hindus and the Muslims. We went into the school system with a sense of self-identity. And yet still, we understood the value of not just learning their education, but Yah's education as well. So I was fortunate to be blessed to go to university, to graduate. And at university, then my conviction in this way of life really grew. I remember as a university student, and you're going to university and friends asking you what's the reason for you wearing those fringes and why you have your hair braided. And you had to have a strong knowledge of self to be able to speak and to represent yourself on the university level to a high degree. In the schools, in the university, we end up establishing a group of young men that on the campus, we were known as Hebrew Israelites. We end up making our lecturers respect us as it relates to not holding classes on Saturdays, not going to rescheduling exams that would have fell on a holy day. We influenced the campus that Christians, Muslims, and other religious organizations would come to us and ask us questions. Brothers that were on at the university when I was there was brothers like Shemuel ben Yisrael, that's More Shemuel. You have brothers like Ak Yedidia, Ak Eliyahu. You have brothers like our brother Yohanatan. These brothers, we stood strong and we set a precedent for other university students that came after us of how to stand up to represent Yah in the face of adversity and the challenges that you would face at university, during university, or during our time at the university. My father, as we got older, we began to wear culture, and we took off. I used to have to go to class at K-State. I used to have to go to class with my kippah on, which is my hat. And I remember once writing an exam, and an invigilator came, and she told me that I will not be able to write the exam if I had on my head covering. And because my conviction was so strong, and because I knew that at this point I had to represent this way of life, I ended up telling the invigilator and the examiner that I will not write the exam. Only way I would write this exam is if I was able to do so in my culture. And I walked out the exam room. And after walking out the exam room, I heard some uproar in the classroom. So I went back and I looked, and all of my colleagues, they ended up walking out the exam room too. And they was stood up, and it was like, if he can't write the exam, we are not writing the exam. This brother comes to class every day with his culture on. And we feel that, and they said that they felt it was discrimination that I would not be able to sit in an exam wearing my culture. Subsequently, the invigilator called the lecturer. And the lecturer came downstairs and said, "What's the problem with the class?" And she said, "This young man, he comes to class every day dressed like this. And if he can't write the exam, then the Muslim can't write the exam because they had on their cultural garments, and anybody else. As the lecturer," she said, "I'm giving him permission to write the exam." From that, I learned a lot of lessons. One, you cannot be a hypocrite when it comes to this way of life. If you're going to wear culture, be about it. If you're going to be an Israelite, try your best to be an Israelite to the best of your ability. Another thing I learned is that if you carry yourself right, others will respect you. If you trust in Yah, others will be there to represent you in your time of need. So that inspired me to be a better human being and understand that this way of life is not just about you and God, but about your relationship with other individuals. Because when your knowledge increases, and I would say the little knowledge and experience I have, the Creator gave me the understanding that His Spirit dwells in every human being. And love for Yah is seeing the godly spirit in each being, each element of His creation, and trying your best to treat it with a certain amount of respect. So many life experiences I can tell you about that increased my understanding of life and of the Creator. And He guided me through. He guided me through university. While at university, the Creator blessed me to meet my wife. And I know it's not just about me, but He gave me an understanding that as a man of God, you don't have to, and striving to be a man of God, you don't have to change who you are in order to get a spouse. If you love the Creator and you walk with Him, He's going to allow you to attract a woman or a man that loves the Creator as well. So, some of the challenges I faced growing up, I can only give the glory and the praise to the Creator for blessing me to overcome it. Because another challenge I would have faced as I faced as a young man, and I know many of my brothers and my sisters are facing the same challenge. Besides peer pressure, but financial struggles. Now, having went to university, after you finish or even while at university, my parents were not the wealthiest of individuals. So I had to find a way to earn income while at university. And there again, your trust in the Creator comes into play. How can you survive those university financial days and struggle days and still hold firm by your cultural beliefs? So the Creator guided me through. He blessed me with the ability to, in one case, sell my father's books. He blessed me occasionally to become one that the lecturer would allow to work with them, to do various researches that they would have been doing, whether it was for the United Nations or IDB. And I thank the Creator for those things because of the way I carried myself and because of the way that we as Israelites should carry ourselves, others will respect you and they would help you out in your times of need. Because the Creator, He's going to be the one that makes sure that your prayers is answered. After finishing university, you have to find employment. And there are some restrictions that we all face, Israelites around the world. There's so many individuals that now try to, and I would call it a test from the Creator to see how strong you are in this way of life. They try to offer you jobs, and every job that you get, they're telling you that in order to do this job, you have to some way put your culture on hold, whether it's keeping the Shabbat day, whether it comes to, okay, we have a job, but it requires you to work on the Shabbat day. Now, I'm not one of those individuals that's going to judge the individual that had to make that decision. But my prayer was always as a young man growing up, Yahweh, don't keep me out of a situation where I would feel pressured to have to work on the Shabbat day. Help me to have the inner strength not to have to make that decision to have to work on the Shabbat day. And the Creator blessed me with it. I remember that there was good jobs that I would have had to at my disposal in journalism. But becoming a journalist requires you to cover stories, and those stories may have happened on the Shabbat day. That wasn't for me. At the time, that was a decision I made not to go that way through the advice from our father. I further got into the teaching profession and became a lecturer and a teacher in the public school forum. I'm not going to call the name of the school, but a challenge I faced. And just to show you how the Creator can be with you and bless you. My first time leaving university and going to seek a job in a ministry of education. The education ministry sent me to a particular school and said, go to this school, and when you go to this school, tell them we send you. They gave me a letter and me fully dressed in my culture and everything. From the time I went to that particular school, the teacher said, the headmistress of the school told me straight up, This school is not a school for you. Go back to the ministry and tell it, and they will give you a message. She didn't even interview me. She told me that. She just told me, she said, we don't want, you can't come here. I went back to the ministry. The ministry said, all right, don't worry with that school. It was a senior secondary school. He said, don't worry with that school. Go to this other school and tell them that we sent you. Me, a humble young man, took the letter, went to the second school, walked in the school. The headmistress again another headmistress told me, we don't want you here. Mind you, I was neatly dressed. Only thing I had was my headdress on my head. And they said, we don't want you here. And I had braids too. And the braids were showing out. And I said, but what's the problem? She said, well, at our school, we don't promote boys wearing braids. And we don't think that you're going to be a positive role model for the students. I went back to the university, to the Ministry of Education. But little did the headmistress know, and to my advantage, most of the ministry officials taught me and my family, my brothers and my sisters, while we were in primary school. People like Miss Weaver and others, they taught us. So when she saw I came back to the ministry, she was like, what's the problem? She said, why they send you back here? I said, I don't know. They told me something about my hair or whatever. She said, well, you don't have a problem. Go right back to that school and tell them I sent you. And when you go there, she said, just go there and take this letter. So me, being a humble servant and following the hand of the Creator, I went back to the school. But this time when I went to the school, for some reason, the headmistress was openly welcoming and saying, sorry about the misunderstanding, everything. And again, the Creator answered my prayer. Because me, even though we started off on the wrong foot, me and that headmistress became some of the best friends to this day. Many of the students at that school, although they thought I was going to be a negative influence, I ended up being a positive and having a positive influence on many of those young men's lives. Many of them are police officers, teachers, educators to this day. And again, that's another life lesson that I learned, that how your family carry itself and the way you carry yourself, you don't know where the Creator will allow somebody to intervene on your behalf. So we have to watch how we treat others and how we carry ourselves, even as children. And because you don't know whose life you will be impacting in one way or another. And the Creator, He guided me through that situation. I'm a teacher to this day, continuing to teach, continuing to change lives. And I'm teaching values and principles into the lives of young men and young women. And teaching them that don't get caught up on only our outward appearance. Look deep within the soul and the spirit of individuals and see how you can influence them and impact them and how you can make life better for all mankind. And in this teaching profession, I thank the Creator for giving me that opportunity, because now I think that I know that I'm able to touch lives in a way and to change people in a way that I feel I would not be able to do in any other situation. So the Creator, He guided me through so many challenges. It gave me so many life lessons that I know that now He was with me. And I pray that He continued to be with me, because the mission is not complete. The journey is not over. I have to continue to fight against And we have to continue to fight. It's not just about me. All the saints of the Most High, despite where you are, we have to continue to fight because the adversarial forces are fighting to promote evil. They are trying to encourage the young men and the young women, even in the school system, to accept unrighteous principles over righteous principles. This is something that I'm trying, and many like myself have dedicated our lives to ensure that righteous principles prevail and that we do not become one of some of those individuals. We do not find ourselves following the multitude to do evil. And to do right becomes easier as you practice it every day in your life. Those are just some of the challenges that I would have faced and that many like me would have faced in different parts of the world, striving and struggling to be fighting to represent the true and the living power. We can't give up on God. We can't give up on the Almighty because you don't want him and we don't want him to give up on us. We have to keep allowing that light of Yah, the light of the Creator, to shine through us. And as you continue to make the decision to put Yah first, it becomes easier. It becomes easier to do the will of the Most High. I encourage all youth, all young men, all young women to continue to allow righteousness to prevail. Be an advocate of truth. Don't fall prey to the ways of the wicked, because they will test you, they will test us, they are testing us, and the challenges become more difficult as time goes on. I thank the Creator for blessing me to have this culture and this way of life and to know it, know his laws and his statutes and his commandments, because I strongly believe, or I should say I know, that it has kept me out of so much trouble as a young man. And even when I got in trouble, the Creator would have allowed me to have that foundation of him that I could always climb myself out of the hole that I found myself in. Now, what are some of the challenges that we as young individuals, young men and young women face growing up in this way of life, or and I would say even living this culture? Some of the trouble we can find ourselves in is our peers trying to influence us to go and do things that go against what our parents would have instructed us as based on the law, based on the Torah. Those things include our growing up. We sometimes, as young men, and even as a teacher, I see it with my students about relationships between the boys and the girls. And usually that challenge comes when you're in your teenage years. How can you try to do the right thing and yet still not lose all your friends? Because you feel as though, as young people and as a young man, I remember feeling as though if I did what was right and followed the teachings and the principles that I was taught at home, my peers would dislike me and they would ostracize me or put me aside. And in some cases they did, but it kept me out of trouble, because after they would have done something that was against the against the rules of the school, against the rules of Yah, A lot of times you found themselves in the principal's office, and now they have to worry about the appearance coming up and having to now be embarrassed and face all that. And you have to face the shame that goes with being suspended or being expelled in certain cases. So the culture kept me, because a lot of times before I made any decision, there was like this small voice in my head that would tell me, you know that's not right. You know that's not right. That don't do this or don't do that. And sometimes I fell prey to it. Sometimes my siblings fell prey to it. Sometimes I know there are other Israelites in other countries. We are not perfect. We will fall prey to certain things in certain times. We will find ourselves getting in trouble. But when we get in trouble, it's our responsibility to try to make it right and try not to make those bad experiences outnumber the good ones. Trouble with the opposite sex. Trouble, sometimes you may find yourself in a situation where your peers are encouraging you to be intimate or to take advantage of a girl or take advantage of a boy, to go against your family values or the values of your school. You have to become confident in something, and not just confident, you have to become a person that is grounded. I remember, and something I got to that stuck with me as I got older, was that a lot of times we think that our teenage years will never end. It seems as though this is going to, as a teenager, as a young man, you think that this is going to be my condition for eternity and for all time, and that when will this end? A lot of times when you start going through puberty, like me and many of my brothers, you start even having little conflict with your parents because you're trying to find a sense of self-identity. And you have what they call role clashes and status frustration. You experience that. But you have to be strong to understand that this too will come to an end. And there's going to be another phase, because life is about stages. And getting back to a principle that I would have thought of as a young man, and it stuck with me, I started thinking, I said, let me look at it. I probably live in my father's house, let's say from ages 1 to, let's say, 17. Some people stay longer. I was fortunate to have parents who ensured that before we would have left home only after we would have got married. So you may stay, let's say the average person from the time they were born to age 24, 25, sometimes a little younger. So you're really under your parents' house, where they have a direct effect on the decision you make for 25 years average in your lifetime. After you reach the age of 25, now you got from 25 to how old you expect to live. Some people say they want to live to 75, 80, 100. That means if you're trying to live to see, let's say 75 or 80 or 100, let's say 75, you're going to be 50 years making decisions on your own. And you ask a lot of the older generation, they often say they wish they could go back to the days when they had no responsibilities and they were not accountable. So a life lesson I learned, if you want to live long, you're going to be older, longer than you're younger. You're going to have more time if you live and you do right to make your own decisions and to be held accountable for your own decisions longer. So if you can gather as much information, as much knowledge, as much experience, living in your father, your mother's house, and them guiding you, take advantage of it. Because you don't even know how long they will be alive. That's why the Creator and the law of the Creator says, Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And in the Hebraic understanding, it says that honor thy father and thy mother, that they may cause thy days to be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Because it's your parents' advice, your parents' guidance, elders' guidance that's going to help you and help you to have a smooth path on this road of life, on this journey of life. So with that, the foundation helped me and helped so many like myself get out of trouble as we continue to strive to be Israelites in this way of life. The Creator, in this day and time, the Creator blessed me as well to have a skill. And I would say it's a skill, but yet it's a bit of a small talent, and that is playing basketball. My parents, my father, he ensured that from a young age he put sports in our lives. And I would tell any young man, any young woman, get involved in sports. Because in our way of life, that's a term called holy concern, a way of exercising. It's a way to direct your energy into something that's going to help you with health. So as young men, we were focused because we played basketball. And I will tell you this, basketball helped to keep me out of trouble. Basketball, because instead of smoking on a corner, we played basketball. Instead of going and stealing like some of our friends were stealing, we wanted to go and play basketball. The Creator blessed us that He put us in, and He allowed me and my siblings to grow up in a street, in a community that the name of the street was called Community Lane. And there were certain parents that would have insisted that me and my peers had that opportunity to play basketball. And some of those individuals that grew up with us, and that was it. And when we were growing up, they were not in this way of life. But one of them in particular is in this way of life. That's somebody that we call Ima Tequimia. She was an extension of a mother to me. And there were others. There was Miss Ford. There were so many other individuals. But Miss Ima Tequimia, she and her family end up seeing us worship on the Shabbat day, seeing our family values, and the Creator touched her that she ended up practicing this way of life. But how was she instrumental? She fought sometime against her own family to ensure that we had that opportunity to play. When other parents and other individuals would complain about the sound of the ball bouncing, she said, let those young men play. Let them play. It's better they play that sport than they go and rob, steal, or do something else. But practicing this way of life in basketball, many in Guyana, they know me. They know my brothers. And we end up setting a precedent after we started our own basketball team with the help of some of men like Forbes, Dean, and Darren Thomas and others. We formed our own team. But we were good enough and we stood firm that the team would not play on the Shabbat day. Even though all the other clubs, they had games on Saturday night, the Creator blessed us to have an impact in the Basketball Association in Guyana, that they knew that when it came to that game, when it came to that team, they will not play on the Shabbat day. So Friday evening, no games on Saturday, we didn't play. I remember making the national team, the junior national team as well. And I never got to play on those teams because every time after making a team, and they asked me a simple question, we have games on Saturday, would you play? And when I was young, my father used to have to tell me, no, you're not playing. They would come there. Some people would ask my father, say, but it's just a basketball game. My father ended up saying, no, this is our way of life. We were not. As we got older and I got older, I didn't have to go to my father and my mother anymore. It was automatically, no, I'm not playing. Why? Because I understood the principle. 6 days ye shall work, and on the 7th day ye shall rest. So nothing, we didn't put anything, not even much as a sport, before the Shabbat day. But sports help to keep me out of trouble. And playing sports with the right state of mind. I thank the Creator that He blessed me that the spirit I played the sport in was one that it was competitive, but yet I always tried to maintain a sense of integrity. I saw it in my father. He had the respect of the people that he played with. And then when I got on the court, I tried to carry the same values, the same principles. Not because my father did it, but because it was the right thing to do. Now, people respect me. I know, and they respect my family and my brothers, and I hope and I pray that they respect other Israelites that are out there that are doing the same thing. But things like watch your language, be fair to individuals, try to make right decisions and instill righteous principles. Don't just go lying and cheating just to win the game. Do the right thing. Play competitive. But if you lose, have the courage and the discipline to be able to respect your opponent, and it's no love lost, and continue to train to be harder. So sports, as a way of this, as a sport, we consider sports as part of our way of life because it promotes health. I say that would have helped to keep me out of trouble growing up as a young man. Wearing my culture, I found out that wearing and dressing a certain way got you a certain amount of respect. I know there are Israelites around the world that they say that, oh, these are just your outward garments. But we have to understand that apparel, the way you dress, has a lot of impact and influence on the way you will be addressed. They say dress how you want to be addressed. And police stop you. They see you dressed a certain way, they greet you and they respect you in a different way. If you're a young daughter and you dress a certain way, you dress different, you dress culturally, you dress properly, you dress with a sense of value and morals because you are valuable. So you should dress like kings and queens. So when you go out your house and they see you dressed like that, they see they're going to have a certain amount of respect for you. And people who don't respect you, the Creator is going to deal with them for it. But as long as you dress a certain way, and you know you're clean and you're neat and you're tidy and you go out there, you're going to see the police. Now, I'm traveling. If I travel in Guyana and the police stop me, as soon as they stop me, I say shalom. They say shalom. Sometimes they don't even know where you from. They don't even know if you from the ghetto, from the rich neighborhoods. They just treat you with respect because you carry yourself in a dignified way. So your apparel, the way you dress, the way you look, how you speak can have an effect on how others treat you and the respect they will have for you. Manners can open doors that money or nothing else can open. That's what I learned. And how did I learn manners? What was it all about? It was taught to me based on the laws of the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth. Don't lie. Don't steal. Respect your brother. Respect your neighbor's property. Don't covet something that don't belong to you. Be a man or a woman that work for whatever you want. Put in the work. Put in the time. I remember growing up, my father, he learned it from his parents as I got older. It was certain principles. The more you learn, the more you earn. If you don't have a job, your job is to get up early and go looking for a job. He told us, he said that he said, whatever you sow, that you are going to reap. So if you put out negativity, you're going to only attract negativity. If you put out righteousness and positivity, that's what's going to be attracted. That's what you're going to attract. Further principles that help me understand this culture and understand the Creator and understand that, and it kept me out of trouble, was simple things like God and even my parents, they said, I will give you enough rope to hang yourself. You gotta have the understanding to know that I'm going too far. I'm not doing right. I don't want to face the consequences of my action because I can't handle it. And turn back and do the right thing. The Creator will bless you. He will protect you. Put your trust in Him. Stay out of trouble. Think about the consequences or the effects as you're making the decision to say, nah, this is not worth the risk. This is not worth it. Y'all guide me through this. And He's going to protect you. And He's going to shield you. I must say for young men, young women, get involved in sports. Use that energy wisely. Value your education. Apply yourself and represent righteousness in everything that you do. It will help you. It will help you overcome certain challenges that you face. And those values of the law will help you in your marriage. Because you're going to understand in marriage, it's about trust. It's about respect. It's about sacrifice. It's about hard work. It's about investing time. And once you get those values and you learn from the experiences as a young man or a young woman, and you bring that to your marriage or your relationships as an older person, people will respect. Value for self and self-respect. Those things will help you. Respect, self-respect. A lot of times, young people, they want people to respect them. But ask yourself how much respect you have for you. How you carry yourself. Because other people, they only going to judge, they're going to only treat you the way they see you treat you. And you're going to only allow them to do that to you. And when they disrespect you, you know how to pull back and demand respect. So, in marriage, I'm going to say, we living in a time where the divorce rate is at an all-time high. Why is it so high? Because a lot of times, people have taken God and the godly spirit out of the relationship. There's mistrust. There is hurt. When you hurt your spouse and you by doing the wrong thing, see it as you're hurting God. When you go and you commit adultery or infidelity, you're hurting the Creator because now you're breaking trust. Our way of life is a culture that, if practiced correctly, we could have valued and we could have beautiful families, raise beautiful children. But it has to be done correctly according to the will of and according to the standards, not of man, but of Yah, the Creator, maker of heaven and earth. Parents, they have to understand that they influence their children as well, and they instill values in their children through the socialization process. Parents, don't use vulgarity and vulgar language in the presence of your children. That's why we live in a world with so much hate and so much vulgarity is being promoted. Because the children hear it not only in school, but they hear it at home as well. They hear it on TV. Growing up, I never remember ever hearing my parents curse each other out. So it let me understand that that's not something that I want to be part of my family. As I establish my family, if it's something that I don't want to be, you and your wife cursing each other out, that just devalues you. Have self-respect, value yourself, and help to speak positive things. When you get angry, stop and think and make righteous decisions. The scriptures tell us anger rests in the bosom of a fool. Try not to allow your bosom, your womb, your body to have so much anger and hate. Let Yah guide you through it and use His Torah, His laws, His principles to promote life rather than death, positivity rather than negativity, and enhance life.